We all set?
What kind of water are you drinking?
Alrighty, everyone, please, everyone's attention. Welcome to the, June meeting of, Finance, Personnel, and Higher Education. Chair will entertain a motion, to approve the, minutes of the previous meeting. Dan on the motion, second. Edna on the second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Privilege of the floor. At this time, anyone wishing to address the committee may do so regarding any subject on the agenda or otherwise. I see Mr. Montesi's hand. Ron?
The purpose of me speaking to the Finance Board is that I would like to see us move on with the cogen litigation. We all know that $65,000 was a number that was put forth by the engineering firm that said this is what we either didn't make or lost or whatever. We have some other numbers that we should not talk about that our attorney has talked to Siemens on, and I would like to see us allow our attorney, Paltrowitz, to go forth and settle this. We can't close on the cogen as yet. We still have ownership, so we pay the fee and then they pay us back. Doug, I know you said you keep talking to the U.S. Attorney. Is there anything that we should know about on this?
I'll refrain
just,
until executive session.
Yeah, just
Okay.
speak to the chair, okay?
Yeah. No,
Thank you.
I know Doug had been passionate about this.
I understand.
And I just think it's important that we move on. There are a lot of things that we need to do in the county, and this is one of them that it seems to be just an annoying gnat. How much money did we lose or win or not win? I guess that's going to require another engineering study. But in any event, I guess what I'm asking the Finance Board today is to give me a show of hands, Mr. Chairman, a show of hands of who would be willing to settle this suit through our attorney, Paltrowitz.
I would prefer that question be raised to the committee in executive session. I think that this is a contractual negotiated item, and I think it's something that we should, that particular item, I don't think we should be signaling anything regarding this, but I will defer to our attorney on that.
I would agree with that assessment, Mr. Chairman. If the committee wishes to indicate a sense of the committee, then I would say the executive session, because it is so close to potential litigation, would be appropriate.
Yeah, I think that's the case. I would turn to the committee right now. We apparently are going to need an executive session. Would you rather do it at the end of the meeting, or would you rather do it right now? Any sense of the committee on that?
I'd rather do it at the end if there's...
At the end of the meeting? Is that the sense of the committee?
Fine.
Alrighty. Well, we will need to go into executive session regarding personnel matters, personnel employment matters. And when I recite the reasons that we go into executive session, I'm sure the council will make sure I also recite contractual matters and matters dealing with possible litigation.
Thank you for the privilege of the floor.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the committee at this time? Alrighty, then let's move on to item 1, privilege of the floor to any SUNY Adirondack representative. Is there any SUNY? I don't see any here. Okay, well then let's move past that. Request for a transfer of funds attached for committee approval. Chair will entertain a motion regarding transfer of funds. Mr. Simpson on the motion, second. Peter McDivitt on the second. Any discussion? There being none, are we ready for the question? All those in favor of the transfer signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Items to be discussed by the Human Resources Director and/or Personnel Officer. Is that, Trish, are you on deck here now? What do we have in front of us here? It's, I think it's, 3B.
Yes.
Actually, yeah, let's deal with 3B first, and then we'll come back to Jackie. Alrighty. What would you like us to do here?
2016 is turning into a year of change for the personnel and civil service. In March and April, we've had changes in our department. We had our part-time personnel aide become a full-time employee over the sheriff's department. It's a great opportunity for him. In May, we welcomed our new personnel clerk, who is a full-time permanent employee. And we also became aware that our personnel technician, who has been with the county of 30 years, will be retiring in October. We've decided to take this opportunity to review the structure of our staffing and are looking to make some reorganizational proposals and seek your approval. At this time, we're looking to create a position of Civil Service Technician 1, which would be the position that we would anticipate to replace the current personnel technician. It's a slightly different title, same structure. We're just updating the title for current nomenclature and duties. The position, we would like to ask approval to begin the end of July. Hopefully get somebody in August, so that we would have time. Civil Service administration of testing exams is very busy in August and September as we plan for the fall testing season. So having somebody in to go through the processes with our current personnel tech would be very helpful. We have funding to cover this based on the changes in the positions that we've had over the course of the year. The only thing, depending on when Margaret retires and when these positions take place, we may be looking for health benefits. If there's a full family health benefit, we'll have to discuss that. I talked to the chairman of the budget, Frank Thomas, and he indicated that I could bring this forth that way. Our second request is to establish a position of test administrator part-time. We have a very heavy civil service testing schedule that goes from September to June. We average 2 tests a day that can go from 6 hours, sometimes 8 hours. This month we had 3 exams. It's a very convoluted process to also be working all week, doing all the administration and everything else we need to service our departments. We also service the towns, the school districts, the library, the city, the village, and all the special districts. So having someone who comes in and does Saturday tests is responsible for test security would provide us a great deal of flexibility. We can do that within the budget we have at this time. The one thing we may do is once we have all the positions settled, we may come in and look for a transfer of funds. And in the process of creating those positions, we would ask that you approve the deletion of the personnel aide part-time at this time.
Alrighty. Any
What-
questions, Doug?
Yeah, I'm sorry. So what would be the difference? Are we looking at spending more money? You're deleting one, you're adding one, or part-time and so forth? What's the net?
We are not going to be spending more money. We may be spending less money, and we're waiting for our fall schedule to come in for test administration, and I'm waiting to see when exactly our personnel tech retires, and so I can say that we can cover this request in the funding we have right now, and as we go into budget, I'll have an exact number as to whether we're going to be able to, what we would be saving, potentially. There's a difference of $7,000 we're requesting in the salary between the current personnel technician and civil service technician 1 that we're looking to fill.
Okay, so you have the funding, but eventually it'll be $7,000 more for the position?
No, it would be, we're asking for 42. The current personnel technician's salary is 49 and change. So that we'd have that difference, but the money for these positions is coming from the deletion of the part-time personnel aide, and our personnel clerk did not begin until May because of the test results and interviews, etc. So we didn't have an appointment till May, so we have the January to April funding there. So we're using all of that funding to fund these positions.
Okay, thanks.
All right, any other questions? Trish, thank you very much. Matt? We have a, motion to move 3B. Do we have a second to the motion? Mr. Sokol on the second. Any further discussion? There being none, are we ready for the question? All those in favor of action item 3B signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Trish. 3A, review a report on tracking, of, vacancies filled. Jackie, any comment regarding it? As you know, she's required to, report this to the committee. If you have any questions, you can give Jackie a call. Let's move right into, item 4, to fill, the vacant position of account clerk 1, grade 4 annual base salary prorated to $12,838 due to resignation. This is from the, county treasurer. Chair, I'll entertain a motion to bring this to the floor for consideration. Mr. Merlino, Mr. Gerard on the second. What do we have here, Mike?
Well, I have a part-time position. This is in the tax collection part of our office, which is the front office where the customer or the public comes in. That office at one time was staffed with 5 people not too long ago. Now we're down to 3.5. I need this position to keep it going. As a matter of fact, we're going to be in trouble next week because one of the staff members that we have in there is out on sick leave, and this position is ending tomorrow, I believe, right, Rob? Yeah, so next week I'm only going to have 2 people in that position in that part of the office, which creates a security problem as far as cash flow, checking receipts, checking balancing against each other. So I really need this spot filled.
All righty, any questions for the treasurer? Thank you, Mike. All right, what's the pleasure of the committee? Are we ready for the question? All those in favor of action item 4 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Action item 4 is carried. Item 5, referral from the Criminal Justice and Public Safety Committees to Sheriff's Office. 5A, request to appropriate $9,500 from the Computer Reserve Fund A895.00 to Budget Code 3110-220.1 Sheriff's Law Enforcement Office Equipment Reserve, that's a mouthful, for the purchase of computers and related equipment and software. Chair will entertain a motion regarding 5A. Mr. Simpson, Ms. Frazier on the second. Any discussion? We're ready for the question. All those in favor of action item 5A signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5A is carried. 5B, request to amend the county budget in the amount of $31,750 to reflect the receipt of 2016 grant funds from the New York State Governor's Traffic Safety Committee. This did not go through a committee, but it was brought here with the approval of the committee chair. Chair will entertain a motion to bring 5B to the floor for consideration. Mr. Merlino, Ms. Bramer on the second. Any discussion? There being none, are we ready for the question? All those in favor of item 5B signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 5B is carried. Item 6, refer from the Health and Human and Social Services Committee. 6A, request to amend the table of organization and salary schedule to create the new position of Specialist Office for the Aging 2, Grade 10. Annual base salary $34,675, and to delete the existing position of the Nutrition Services Coordinator number 2, base salary $42,038, effective July 18, 2016, as well as to fill the new position that is created. Chair will entertain a motion regarding 6A. Rachel, Edna on the second. Discussion. There being none, all those in favor of item 6A signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 6A is carried. 6B, Public Health, request to amend the county budget in the amount of $7,508 to reflect the cost of living adjustment funds provided for various grants within the disease program. Chair will entertain a motion regarding 6B. Matt Simpson, Mr. Sokol on the second. Discussion. There being none, all those in favor of item 6B signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 6B is carried. 6C, referral from the Health and Human and Social Services Committee. Request to authorize enrollment in a job-related course, Jody Burns, RN, to enroll in Leadership and Management for Nurses Core Competencies for Quality Care course at Chamberlain College of Nursing, course term May 2nd through June 27. If this request is approved, Ms. Burns will be due reimbursement of 50% of course costs upon completion with a grade C or better. Chair will entertain a motion regarding this item. Mr. Gerard, Mr. McDivitt on the second. Any discussion? There being none, are we ready for the question? All those in favor of 6C signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 6C is carried. 6D, Veteran Services, request for a contingent fund transfer in the amount of $1,002.95 to cover the payout to the Director of Veteran Services for 31.5 hours of unused vacation accrued in 15. Authority to make the payout was approved by Resolution number 261 of 2016. However, the funds are not available within the existing veterans budget. Chair will entertain a motion regarding to bring 6D to the floor for consideration. Claudia on the motion, second. Edna on the second. Just so the committee knows, the present balance in our contingency fund is $74,000. We ready for the question then? All those in favor of item 6D signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 6D is carried. Referral from Park Operations and Management Committee. 7A, request to appropriate funding in the amount of $2,643.21 from budget code A691.07, deferred revenue Gaslight Village parking fees, to budget code A1625413, Gaslight Village property repair and maintenance, to reimburse the Village of Lake George for various maintenance expenses and equipment purchases for the Charles R. Wood Park Festival Commons, and authorize such reimbursement to the Village of Lake George. Chair will entertain a motion regarding 7A. Mr. Merlino, do we have a second? Claudia, Ms. Bramer on the second. Discussion? Are we ready for the question then? All those in favor of item 7A signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 7A is carried. 7B, request to amend the county budget in the amount of $3,500.10 to reflect the receipt of insurance recovery for damages to a light post at the Charles R. Wood Park. Chair will entertain a motion regarding 7B. Mr. Merlino, Ms. Bramer on the second. Discussion? There being none, all those in favor of item 7B signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 7B is carried. Referral from the Public Works Committee, DPW. Request to authorize the county treasurer to close capital project H298 Stony Creek projects and return the estimated remaining funds of $1,224 to the general fund. Chair will entertain a motion regarding 8A. Mr. Simpson, Mr. Merlino on the second. Discussion? Are we ready for the question? All those in favor of items 8A signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 8A is carried. 8B, request to amend the county budget in the amount of $31,526.26 to reflect the receipt of an insurance recovery payment received June 20 for repairs to a 2000 Champion grader. Chair will entertain a motion regarding 8B. Mr. Gerard, Mr. Merlino on the second. Discussion? Are we ready for the question? All those in favor of 8B signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 8B is carried. Item 9, referral from the Support Services Committee, County Attorney. Request for a contingent fund transfer totaling $52,400 to update Amicus Attorney-Client Management Software, $2,400, and to provide funding for contractual legal fees which far exceed the amount budgeted for 2016. Chair will entertain a motion to bring this item to the floor for explanation. Ms. Bramer, second. Mr. Gerard. What do we have here, Brian?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The current year budget did not allow for a couple of expenses that we incur. The first of them is an upgrade of our Amicus Attorney case management software. It's an old program from, I believe we originally got it in 2008, and it's just not kept up without an upgrade. It's failing us more consistently, more regularly now. We need to get the update for $2,400 to be able to track our files. And the other amount, the $50,000, is a combination of three items. One, we're about $9,000 short if we incur the same expenses that we did last year on the cogen litigation matter to Bartlett Conniff. We'll be about $26,000 short on the monthly flat fee retainer that we have with Bartlett Conniff for labor relations representation, and on the Gillette versus Warren County case, we pay Lemire Johnson Higgins for, on current basis, we'd be about $14,000 short if we spent the same amount as last year. So I'm looking for money to pay those if they go the same as they went last year.
Any questions for the county attorney? Mr. Gerard?
So you're looking for the 2,400 right now, there was $50,000 budgeted?
There was, no, on the $2,400, there wasn't anything budgeted for that. That's an expense that we didn't foresee. The other ones are pursuant to retainer agreements that we have that were entered into last year or before, but were not funded fully last year in the budget.
They weren't budgeted items?
They were budgeted, but not sufficiently.
Which you had two numbers, you had $14,000 and...
Yeah, if we incur the same amount on the Gillette versus Warren County matter that we did last year, we'd be about $14,800 short. And on the other two that are both Bartlett Conniff, one is the cogen, where we'd be about $9,000 short on that one, and about $26,000 and change on the flat fee monthly retainer we have with Bartlett Conniff that does the labor, where they handle the labor relations and disciplinary matters for us.
Okay, and it's June, so you have 6 months left. We'll probably be back visiting this, because that
would, if we spend the same this year as we did last year, that would cover us through the end of the year. That would be sufficient to
okay.
finish the year.
Ms. Bramer?
Maybe this is more for executive session, but I thought that Bartlett Pontiff was covered by a flat fee monthly arrangement for the cogen and closing up the loose ends for the sale of the nursing home. That's not true, that we're not paying $37,500?
That is the labor relations. The cogen is $180 an hour for partners and $150 an hour for associates. That's a separate retainer agreement. The flat fee is labor relations and the remainder of the sale of Westmount that didn't involve the real property, but not the cogen litigation. That's separate.
So the request here would be to transfer from our contingent fund, which Mr. George has astutely pointed out, hardly halfway through the year would reduce our contingency fund to $22,000. Ms. Eber?
I just want to address our county attorney. If, as it relates to the cogen piece of it, we're not out of money yet. Like what's our window that we would have to approve it? 'Cause to me, quick math is not urgent. We don't have to do it today.
Year to date, on the cogen, we've expended a little over $5,500. I've not seen their most recent bill. A little over $5,500, and last year we did $14,600. So we're $9,000 short if we go the full year. So it's not something that we're out of money for this month's billings. That's correct.
And how often is the bill submitted?
Every month.
I don't know how the rest of the committee feels, but I'd be more comfortable holding up on the cogen payment if that's something that doesn't need to happen right away.
The cogen payment was how much again, Brian? The additional dollars.
It's a monthly bill based on the time expended.
But what part of the 52.4 was the cogen, would you say?
9,000.
9,000. So, Ms. Eber is suggesting that the 52.4 be reduced to 53.4. 43.4. Is my math correct on that? I believe it is. Yes, I believe it is. So, the motion was made by
Ms. Bramer and
Ms.
Mr. Gerard.
Ms. Bramer and Mr. Gerard, there's a motion to approve this. They would need to, if they wanted to amend their motion, they could do so. Mr. Gerard?
I just, what are we trying, what's the end game?
I'm just thinking, given the fact that we will be going in executive session regarding that matter later today, there seems to be a lot of discussion around it and what direction we're going in. I don't know if it's urgent that we put more money into the pot for those expenses when they may not be expended.
But, is this is work that's been done that they're billing us for? Or is this anticipated?
Bills would probably, I would expect, today being the 30th, that bills will come in today for the most recent work that they've done. They've not done a ton of work because we haven't had a lot going on in that area, but there will be some bills. I don't know, I apologize, I don't know exactly where we stand on the balances.
So that's all right with you if we hold off to see exactly, and then we'll
I mean, the money's there for this month's bill. You're just saying responsibly, you're bringing it to our attention that by the end of the year, this is the amount, if we go on last year's amount, that we might need.
I wanted to try to do it before it was an emergency, yes.
Mr. Thomas?
So the, whatever that amount is it 9,000 deduct?
That is.
That's
That was-
permissible, I'll amend the resolution.
The motion was made by Ms. Bramer. Are you,
You got Frank.
She
left. Would you hold up for a second? That's right, Mr. Gerard. Frank?
I would make the suggestion that the, whatever money you fund come out of the, unassigned fund balance, because at the end of the year, last 2015, the county was bringing in $148,000 left. So, $148,000 in the fund balance that was budgeted in 2015, rather than spend all the time, just new tax money. Like Michael.
Right.
Yeah, that's
And
what
just,
you know.
to kind of maybe, explain this a little differently, what Brian's looking to do is to do the transfer rather than come here after the fact. And so that's his purpose here. So if we delete some dollars, which is all right, I think, it's just be cognizant of the fact that he may be here 30 days after the fact. I don't know, because these departments have bills coming in, all the time, but I'm not uncomfortable with the Ms. Bramer's not here. What I would suggest at this stage is that we defeat the motion and the chair will entertain a new motion. So let me call the question on the original motion. All those in favor of the original motion signify by saying aye. Opposed? Aye. Okay, thank you. And now the chair will entertain a motion regarding action item 9.
I don't think I need a motion, did I?
We the committee unanimously defeated your motion, Ms. Bramer. But there are reasons which you are about to hear. But in any event, Mr. Gerard, would you like to?
Yeah, I'll amend the amount, reduce the 52,409,000, the appropriate amount.
To reduce the amount requested by $9,000, and would you also agree with Mr. Thomas that the funding should come from the unassigned fund balance as opposed to the contingency fund?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino, are you good with that? All right, Mr. Merlino on the second. And just for Claudia's information, Ms. Sieber wanted the amount reduced by a specific activity pending further discussions, either in executive session or in other venues going forward, dealing with the cogen services. And Mr. Thomas made the recommendation that the source of these funds be provided from the unassigned fund balance as opposed to the contingency. All righty. Are we ready for the question then? All those in favor of action item 9 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 9 is carried. Item 10, referral from the Tourism and Occupancy Tax Coordination Committee. 10A, request to appoint Joanne Conley as Director of Tourism effective July 18, 2016 at a salary of $70 to $75K the final salary amount to be determined, with a, salary study. Chair will entertain a motion regarding, to bring 10A to the floor for discussion. Mr. Merlino on the motion, Ms. Frazier on the second, discussion. Jane, do you wanna say a few words here?
Yeah, we're just checking on the salary balance, and we'll have it by the time the board meets, in the final analysis. And the other thing on the wording that we're gonna use is still looking into that.
Can't hear a word he's saying.
No, excuse me, not
Can't hear.
the wording of the board. That's the other one, the next one down. Okay, that's good.
I think you've made a good choice, Gene, I can say that, an excellent
I'm
choice.
happy with it, very happy with it.
And also,
Talk for a while.
and Gene, your efforts, these past, I don't even know how many months now, it's a year, has
Time
been,
flies when you have fun.
no, but it really has been outstanding. I know you're here almost every day, and you've really helped to, get the department moving in some, I think, wonderful new directions, and that took a lot of effort on your part and some vision and some discussion with our partners in the private sector, and you, really should be applauded for helping us bridge to where we are today.
Thank you for that, but you can only do it if you have cooperation from the people you're working with. And this team downstairs, they give up their lunchtime sometimes to meet me at my house where I can't get here that day. So I applaud the people downstairs, totally.
All righty. Are we, ready for on item 10A then? All those in favor of item 10A signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 10A is carried. Item 10B, request to amend the table of organization and salary schedule to delete the existing position of senior tourism specialist, grade 6, annual base salary $36,871, and to create and fill the new position of communications assistant, grade, annual base salary, and effective date to be determined by the personnel officer, pending review. Chair will entertain a motion to bring 10B to the floor for consideration. Mr. Merlino, Mr. McDevitt on the second. Does everyone understand what's happening here? We're deleting a position, then we're creating a position. Alrighty. The first item, just for information, 10A is a promotional, 10B, when it's filled, will be a competitive, I do believe. Is that correct, Trish? This is a competitive. Very good. Are we ready for the question then? All those in favor of item 10B signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 10B is carried. 10C, request to amend the salary schedule to reduce the salary of the Assistant Tourism Coordinator position from $48,874 to a range of $40 to $45 effective July 18, 2016. The final salary amount to be determined subsequent to a salary study. Chair will entertain a motion regarding 10C. Mr. Sokol, is there a second? Ms. Frazier, any discussion? There being none, we ready for the question? All those in favor of item 10C signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 10C is carried. Item 11, request items to be discussed by the county administrator staff. A journal report of transfers approved by the county administrator staff since the last meeting. That's attached for your review. I don't need action on that. Item 12, request items to be discussed by the county attorney. Introduction of proposed local law number 5 to extend the additional mortgage recording tax in Warren County and authorizing public hearing on same. Brian, what do we have in front of us?
Since the last meeting, Mr. Chairman, the state legislature passed the bill that would extend our local additional mortgage recording tax for another 2 years. It has not been signed by the governor as of this morning when I checked, but as soon as that is contemplated to happen, as soon as it does, then we will have all the authority we need to pass this local law. I don't want to come too close to the deadline, so my thinking was to have the public hearing on this and enact it, and then once the governor signs the state legislation, ours can go into effect.
Alrighty then. Chair will entertain a motion from the committee to bring this to the floor for consideration. Mr. Simpson, Mr. Gerard on the second. Any discussion? There being none, are we ready for the question? All those in favor of item 12 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. I think we can move right through the pending items, and there's also a list of vacancies approved for, filling by the Oversight Committee. No action required on that, I don't believe. But we will need Mr. Gerard.
I thought this was important to address. It was brought up, I think in the regular board meeting, but, our chairman has filled in as an administrator. He's done it 60 days. He's moving forward. We're not compensating for it. I think that's inappropriate. I think we need to compensate him for it. I'm not sure of the amount, but I do know what previous people were getting. My understanding is he's doing an admirable job while we're doing the search, and I would like to put a motion on the floor that he would be compensated for it at the discretion of the amount to be determined by the committee or the board.
We have a motion to establish a payment for the services being provided as county administrator by the supervisor of Warrensburg. Do we have a second? Mr. Merlino on the second. Any discussion? The motion is to establish some type of financial reimbursement, dollar amount to be determined as appropriate, both in terms of dollar amount and legality and so on and so forth. Does everyone understand the motion? All right, so there'll have to be some follow-on piece here.
So, yeah, we don't know what we're talking about.
I would add, I would venture to guess that it's at least worth $1,000 a week.
Oh. I would,
for a discussion point.
I would open to the committee this proposal to provide an additional compensation of $1,000 a week. I would.
Excuse me. I'm uncomfortable being here.
I know you aren't.
I don't think it needs. Under 50,000.
First of all, you didn't say 60 days in the contract.
Why don't you exit the room? Okay. I think Kevin should exit the room. And I would say at this point that since we are discussing the employment matters of a particular county employee, I think that we will be going into executive session to discuss discussions regarding filling the county administrator position and the personnel matters candidates associated with that, and we are also going to be going into executive session to discuss contractual matters leading to possible or involving possible litigation, i.e. Siemens, and I would add to that we add to the list for executive session that we're going into executive session to discuss the employment aspects of a particular county individual employee. Did I recite that reasonably well?
It sounds appropriate to me, Mr. Chairman, yes.
All righty. So at this stage, I would ask Mr. Gerard, if you would just for the moment, maybe withdraw your motion just until we come out of executive session, or table it. Well, no, it hasn't been seconded, so I would.
Gene seconded.
Was it seconded? It was seconded. We do have a motion on the table. Something needs to happen with the motion. Chair will entertain a motion to table for the moment. Mr. Merlino says he's prepared to table for the moment.
As long as it's going to be.
Oh yeah, no, we're going to have an action.
We're going to act today.
We're going to come out of executive session. There will have to be some. We have a motion and a second to table. We will be able to come out of executive session to act on this, should we so choose.
As long as you have a quorum to act after executive session, yes.
All right, very good then. Then all those in favor of tabling the motion temporarily signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is tabled, and Chair will entertain a motion to go into executive session for the items recited in the SEBR. Second, Mr. Beatty on the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're going into executive session. Thank you, everyone, for if you're leaving for being here today.
It's very hard.
Rachel, you have, a resolution you'd like to, put forward at this time?
I do. I don't know where my notes went. But I would like to, make a resolution that at this point, we will not, be continuing our search and hiring any of the candidates for the position of county administrator at this time.
Alrighty, and, we have a motion, to, not fill the position at that time and not continue the search, and I assume, and to thank the candidates,
Oh, of course,
and to thank the
them
candidates.
for their.
And we have a second from, Ms. Bramer regarding that, any discussion? There being none, are we ready for, Claudia?
Yes, I just wanna put on the public record that we are going to look at reevaluating that position, and that is why we are not hiring at this time.
Alrighty.
I'm happy to amend my motion.
No, I wouldn't make
No,
that
that
part
was
of the
a
motion,
discussion.
just a
Okay.
comment from Claudia. Alrighty, we ready for the question then? All those in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried, thank you. Now we have on the table a, resolution, regarding, the, county administrator position and how we have it presently filled. Chair will entertain a motion to bring that item off of the table. Mr. Merlino, and a second, Mr. Gerard, all in favor? Okay, we have a motion to, bring that off the table. Mr. Gerard, was it Mr. Simpson on the second? Do we know? Do we remember? I'm trying to remember. Mr. Gerard, Mr. Merlino. Dan, if you could, maybe articulate on this?
I'd like to make a motion to compensate the, temporary administrator, Kevin, filling that position for $1,000 a month until we fill that position.
We have a motion to, compensate, Kevin going forward $1,000 a month. Do we have a second? Mr. Merlino on the second. Any discussion? I just want to make the comment that, I mean, Kevin's putting in a lot of hours here and doing a fabulous job, and I just, kudos to him for doing all of this and continuing to, take on these responsibilities. I know he's putting in some very, very, very long days, so. Alrighty, any other discussion? There being none, are we ready for the question? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn. Ms. Seaver, Ms. Bramer, and everyone, all in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned, everyone. Thank you.